Hey there, psychedelic investors. My name's James, and y'all should subscribe to my SoundCloud. Nah, I'm just trolling y'all. Welcome to the Psychedelic Investor. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing MindMed, who has just launched their new flagship program, Project Angie. And keeping in MindMed's awesome pattern of naming their projects after cool songs, Project Angie will be joining Project Lucy, which is of course treating anxiety with LSD, and Project Layla, which is treating addiction with 18MC. Angie, on the other hand, is going to be doing something new. They're going to be exploring treating pain with LSD and other psychedelics. So the name here, Angie, it's a pun on the word analgesics, which means all of y'all get your minds out of the gutter. Analgesics means a drug that relieves pain. So rather than a gross-sounding analgesics division, they're instead going to have Project Angie. My bad, I've actually, in practicing, called this Project Annie like more than 10 times now, so I'm just going to continue to say Annie by mistake, and if I do, just know that it's Project Angie. So the first program that they're going to be using Project Angie for is going to be using LSD to treat a severe pain indication, and this will undergo a Phase 2A proof of concept study. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down this upcoming study and also where Angie is going to go from here and what evidence there is that LSD can treat pain. But first, if you enjoy this episode and want to see more content like it, invest in the channel with your like and subscribe. Over time, you'll see your investment grow as we continue to bring you the information that you need to know before investing in the psychedelic medicines landscape. Enjoy the episode. Through Project Angie, MindMed is currently exploring two primary clinical indications for the treatment of pain. The first, as we mentioned in the intro, will be treating severe pain indications with LSD. They aim to launch a Phase 2A study testing this. And as for timelines, MindMed is currently preparing a pre-IND, and that is investigational new drug, briefing package to present to the FDA, which they plan to do in the second half of 2021. So just kind of as a side note here, that means that they could do this anywhere between July 1st and December 31st. So I guess if they were to do this in the first part of that, they could technically have this trial started by the end of 2021. However, I would hazard a guess that it's likely to start in 2022. They're probably going to be taking their time for this, and yeah, I'm going to guess this is going to start in 2022. In terms of which severe pain indication they're going to be treating, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see for details. They don't actually lay it out in this press release, so yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. The second clinical indication for the treatment of pain will be in a quote-unquote common, often debilitating chronic pain syndrome. So again, they don't actually tell us what they're going to be treating, and we also don't know the substance. Are they going to be using LSD again? Are they going to be using perhaps psilocybin, MDMA? We just have to wait. Plus, we're given no timelines, so until we get more info, we really don't know much about the second part of Project Angie yet. That's okay, they're just announcing it now. Eventually, we'll get this details. Moving on, why would MindMed want to get into this treatment market anyhow, the pain treatment market? Isn't MindMed a mental health care company? Well, yeah, up until this point, MindMed has been a mental health care treatment company, as have most of the other companies in the psychedelic medicines field. However, there are three good reasons for why they might want to expand to the treatment of pain. First up is the addressable market size. Next, we have the side effects of current treatments, and finally, the existing science on treating pain with psychedelics. So on the first point, according to MindMed, the global market for pain treatment medication is set to grow to $31 billion by 2030. So if LSD or other psychedelics work better than current methods and MindMed is first to market, then they could eat a significant portion of this market. However, even if it works just as well as current anesthetics, MindMed would still have a game-changing medication on their hands here, and that is because current pain medications, which are often based off opioids, while they do work relatively well, I'll give them that, they also come with major drawbacks. So the main side effect to our current opioid-based painkillers is obviously addiction. And guys, look at it. We are in the middle of an opioid epidemic right now, an opioid addiction epidemic. And many of the people that are now currently hooked on these opioids were originally prescribed them from their doctor. So obviously, we need a painkiller that can both treat pain equally as well as we currently are, without getting the patient addicted. So if LSD or another psychedelic can do this, then MindMed could hypothetically eat a large chunk of that $30 billion annually. And this kind of gets back to the original philosophy of MindMed. Their main goal is to help treat these mental health care conditions, and the best way to treat a condition like addiction is to prevent these people from ever getting addicted in the first place. So MindMed is currently trying to treat addiction with a drug they call 18MC, which is great, fantastic. I'm very excited for that. But wouldn't it be better if all these people that went to the doctors to get painkillers didn't get addicted in the first place? Well, that is the opportunity, potentially, of LSD. So this is all fine and good, all these hypotheticals, but is there any evidence that psychedelics like LSD can, actually treat pain? Has there ever been any studies on this, or are we just talking out of our ass here? Well, as it turns out, yeah, there is. There actually turns out to be quite a lot of study that has been done on this. So I'm going to actually point you to 3 different places. First, all the studies that were done between the 50s and 70s before these substances became illegal. Second, studies that are currently happening, including one that has 2 MindMed collaborators, Dr. Liecki and Kuipers. And finally, MindMed's own LSD to treat suicide headaches trial. So on the first point, before LSD became illegal, there was so much research done on this subject. One exciting study in 1964, tested LSD's ability to treat pain in cancer patients, and it had dual surprising results. First, the authors found that LSD worked significantly better than standard pain medications, and then second, its effects lasted much longer also. Secondly, and perhaps paradoxically, patients were less likely to want to take a second dose of LSD. And this could be because the lasting effects precluded the need for another dose. It could be because the anti-addictive effects of LSD made them not want to take it. And it could also be the fact that in this study, they took a very large dose, enough to create an ego dissolution. And doing that daily or every few days can be quite uncomfortable. Not many people want to have their ego dissolved twice a day or once a week or whatever. Except for my college roommate Kevin. Looking at you, Kevin. I hope you still don't do that. You should definitely cut that back a little bit. Returning to the present, in 2020, a study was published that had among its authors 2 prominent MindMed collaborators, Matthias Liecki and Kim Kuipers. And the aim of this study here, this very fun and exciting study, is to see if low, non-hallucinogenic doses of LSD, so microdoses in another word, could increase pain tolerance. To do this, participants and those on the placebo tested how long they could keep their hands in a cold glass of water, a freezing glass of water, before they had to take it out, and they also gave a subjective representation of how much pain they felt from holding their hand in that glass of freezing water. So at a dose of 20 micrograms, which is a little bit more than a microdose, but still in the microdose realm, people were able to keep their hands in the water for 20% longer than those in the placebo group. That's cool, but more importantly, when explaining how much pain they felt while they did this, those in the 20 microgram group had as much pain relief as those that were taking oxycodone or morphine. So obviously, if there is as much pain relief with LSD as there is with morphine, there is a significant amount of pain reduction here, without all of the negative addiction effects that morphine and other like-minded drugs may have. So again, it just really looks like we have a strong winner on our hands here. LSD can reduce pain as much as morphine, but not be as addictive to it. And at a level that's so low that it's basically a microdose, you're not hallucinating or anything. Looks like a winner to me. And finally, we have to remember that MindMed is already themselves working on a pain reduction study. MindMed has a phase 2A trial testing the effectiveness of treating cluster headaches, also known as suicide headaches, with LSD. And they've been at this study for more than 2 years, so it's likely the company has gathered lots and lots and oodles of data on this subject. Now, us the public, us poor saps in the public, we don't have any access to any of the data they've already collected. However, they're not the first ones to see if hallucinogens like LSD can treat cluster headaches. In fact, there have been several studies on this, both cross-sectional, qualitative, as well as small-scale clinical studies. And these have, or at least all the ones I looked at today, all showed very great promise for psychedelics like LSD. Take this study, for example, published in 2017. It concluded this: self-treatment with psychedelic tryptamines primarily LSD and psilocybin, was reported to provide a significant lessening of the frequency and intensity of attacks in many cases of both cluster headaches and migraines. A full remission was also prevalently reported in both disorders. Again, a full remission was also prevalently reported for both disorders. However, sufferers typically continued to use a psychedelic substance a few times a year, to maintain their condition at a minimum. So before we talk about this anymore, I just want to highlight the fact that because of the way this was created, this study, this cross-sectional study, there is lots of possibility for self-selection bias here. So the results of this are probably less good than presented, but nevertheless, for a moment, let's just take this at face value. A few medications a year rather than, daily or weekly meds? Where can I sign up? Getting back to MindMed's trial looking at cluster headaches, again, they likely have so much data on this. They've been doing it for 2 years. So it makes sense that if they're expanding their pain treatment programs here under Angie, that, their data might be positive. They might be looking at what they've done over the last couple of years and be saying, hey, look, this really works in treating pain. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason this is happening. And on that note, actually, I'm betting you that their cluster headaches trial will end up being under the umbrella of Project Angie. So you heard that here first, folks, when they announced that this is under the umbrella of Project Angie. You can come back to this episode. I'll do a little happy dance, be like, I was right. Do, 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 do. Anyhow. Returning to the press release at hand, MindMed's Chief Development Officer, Robert Barrow, explained why this is a potentially exciting avenue for the company, and I mean treating pain with LSD and other psychedelics. He says, evidence dating back to the 1950s suggests that LSD and other psychedelics may have analgesic, screw that word up every time. I practiced saying that word for like 10 minutes before I started doing this episode. I still screw it up. But this treatment area remains largely untapped by companies studying psychedelics, with the majority of research focusing solely on psychiatric indications. The CEO of the company, J.R. Ron, added this. With the launch of Project Angie, we seek to align closely with MindMed's core mission to improve mental health and combat substance use for the many patients in need. If we can help to develop a new paradigm to treat pain, it may have the potential to greatly reduce the use of addictive medicines such as opioids currently ravaging society and its mental health. So look guys, at this stage I don't really know if LSD or other psychedelics will be helpful in treating pain, but look, I'm hopeful. We're obviously going to have to wait, we're going to have to see their data, it's going to take a couple years before we can say anything with any level of certainty. But today, once this news came out, I spent the entire day looking over scientific studies, both from the past, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and today. And guys, it kind of looked universally positive. Almost every study I looked at was showing that there was a lot of benefit to using stuff like LSD as painkillers. And yeah, there was lots of studies I looked at today that didn't get included in this video, just know there's lots of them. But what I really wanted to say was I really like how MindMed here is expanding the scope and scale of what they can use LSD for. They're opening it up to new markets. And this just gives them more avenues to justify their billion-dollar market cap once they start selling medications. Like I said, this is a $30+ billion market. They're already attempting to penetrate a $100 billion market with mental health care treatments. So together, $130 billion market they're trying to penetrate. And they only really need like $1 billion of sales and revenue to maybe justify this. Probably a lot less. If they were getting $1 billion in revenue, their market cap would probably be much higher. But all I'm trying to say here is with this addition of trying to treat pain, the avenues for which they can justify their current market cap are just massive. And you know what? What happens if this doesn't work? What if in a couple years it turns out that pain medications or that pain can't be treated with LSD? Well then, Angie, they can't say we never tried. That's it for today, guys. Reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Please always do your own due diligence. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It really does help us grow. Plus, it ensures you keep seeing this content. I love you guys all. Click on one of the videos you see on your screen now if you want to stay together a little bit longer. Until the next video, this is James signing out.